And what are you going to be making for us today?
Neil, today I'm going to make some homemade French vanilla ice cream, and then we're going to do a Flambé presentation of bananas Foster and put it over the top.
Exciting. So what do we do first?
The first thing we're going to do is make the vanilla ice cream. And the first step in making the vanilla ice cream is to scald some milk. And here we have 2 cups of milk. And we're going to add it to our stainless steel pot. And you want to use stainless steel on this. Don't use aluminum. There's a little bit of an oxidation problem there that can happen. And while that milk's heating up, we're going to take 1 whole vanilla bean. And you want to find one that's nice and thick and throw it in there to start it poaching. The vanilla bean will heat up, and as the vanilla bean heats, the caviar, or the vanilla bean seeds on the inside, will soften sort of like a fig. And the object then is we're going to cut it in half, and we're going to take the back edge of our knife and squeeze the vanilla seeds out, sort of like a toothpaste tube giving up its prize.
Awesome.
So we're going to take this up to about 180 degrees, and in a pot like this, it doesn't take very long. And then we're going to pull the vanilla bean out, and vanilla bean, now it's good and warmed up. We're just going to split that in half, and then using the dull edge of the knife, we're just going to run across the back edge, and you'll see the vanilla squirt out the front. And that right there is the prize inside the vanilla. And we're going to throw that back into the pot. And we'll repeat that for the second half of the bean. Okay. And you can tell when you're at about that 180 degree mark, you'll see a little bit of sizzling around the outside. My recipe says to a brief simmer, and that's pretty much what I'm looking for, and we're just about there. Now you can use a pocket probe thermometer if you have any questions. These are very inexpensive, and you can find them at just about any store. And that number, once again, you're looking for is about 180 degrees, and we're there right now. So the next thing we want to do then is take the sugar, and we've got 2 cups of sugar, and we're going to dissolve the sugar into the heated milk. As the heat hits the vanilla bean seeds, then they're going to start to break apart, and it'll almost look like as if your milk has been peppered slightly.
It's starting to look like that already.
Yeah. And then we've got 2 cups of half and half. We're going to pour that in. One quart of heavy cream. And this is labeled whipping cream a lot of the time, but it's not whipped cream until it's been whipped. And then we've got 1 tablespoon of really good vanilla extract.
So there really is no difference between whipping cream and heavy cream?
No difference between whipping cream and heavy cream.
Sure.
Now before this goes into the ice cream maker, we're going to have to cool it completely down. There's no sense in melting your ice quickly, thank you.
Sure.
And we've got a container here that we're going to pour this off into.
You can see those flecks we were talking about before, just speckled all the way throughout the milk.
A lot of the time they set at the bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and give a good stir to make sure I get as much of the vanilla in there as I can. And then we're going to take this and cover it and either refrigerate it overnight or refrigerate it until it's chilled. Now we've got some that we did earlier. And we'll take that and go on to step 2. I'll move this out of the way so we can get up in front. Now I have an ice cream maker here, and the basic parts to our ice cream maker are the freezing chamber, which is made out of a really nice thin aluminum so that the cold can transfer quickly. The agitator or blender, the lid that goes over the top, and then the brine bucket. And the brine bucket is where we're going to have the salt and the ice mixture that will cause the chemical reaction with the freezing chamber that helps to cool it quick. So,
I can't look at one of those, that thing about milkshakes. Same kind of thing.
Really, really good stuff. Now if you'll notice, there's a lot of vanilla bean down in the bottom, so I want to make sure as I get down here at the bottom here that I shake real good and get that mixed into the mixture, because I don't want to lose any of the vanilla bean. And then we'll add in the rest here. Commonly we consider an overrun on ice cream to be almost 50%. So you'll notice we've got about 3/4 of the chamber full, and as it runs, it will run the ice cream all the way up to the top, so the volume will increase as it starts to freeze. So the next thing we're going to do is put the agitator in, and in this particular model, the can spins, the freezing chamber spins, and the paddle stays in the same position. So there's a little lock lever on here, and we're going to push it up against this dent on the freezing chamber to make sure that it stays in place. Now we're going to set that into the middle of the brine bucket, and there's a small dimple there so that you know you're setting in the right area.
Spin freely.
Right. Let it spin really nice and free, and I think this is going to work out really good for us here. Now we've got some ice cream salt or rock salt, and this is a really inexpensive product, and we're looking at about 2 cups of rock salt to finish this project, and about 1.5 gallons of ice. Now the idea is to layer the two so that you create a nice layering, and I'm going to go ahead and start by putting the ice in on both sides, small layer, and then we'll add a little bit more in a second. We'll give a little layer of salt. So the next thing to do is to attach the top of the motor unit, and we're very glad that we have the electronic version of this, otherwise we'd be hand cranking away. And before I plug this in, what's going on and what's going to happen in there that's so important is this is a tumbler, and the ice cream mixture is going to be freezing rather quickly on the outsides of that freezing chamber, and then the paddle is going to act like a wiper and is going to bring it back into the main mix. So instead of it freezing section by section and working its way in, which would cause the hardening, this is going to have an overall effect of slushing, sort of like that milkshake you were talking about. And that paddle wiping is very important. And once this continues to go for a while, as the ice cream gets harder and harder in here, it's going to form a little bit of tension, and it's going to give tension back to the motor. And the motor is set with a specific amount of force in there, and when it hits that right amount of torque, then the motor will go ahead and give up, and that's when we know it's time to pull the ice cream.
Perfect. I think you've shown off some of your science knowledge right there with the blending,
So I think we're going to be good to go, and in about 15 minutes we'll probably add a little bit more ice, and then it'll be time to move the rest of this mix to another container, and we'll go ahead and freeze it the rest of the way and get ready to do some flaming bananas.
Sounds good. All right, so it's been about 30-45 minutes. I think our ice cream is all churned.
Absolutely. It's still sitting in the brine bucket, and it's looking really good. It's ready for that hardening phase. Now, one thing you want to make sure you do is pull the freezing chamber out and completely dry it off and clean off the salt brine off the outside. It's easy to think that you won't get any into your ice cream, but as long as you've made sure that you got all that salt brine off before you open it. And now that you've opened it, you don't have to worry about the cross-contamination thing. We're going to take the paddle out, and you'll notice the ice cream is still really soft. I'm just going to beat the paddle a little in there, get some of the ice cream off it, and then we're going to pour and scrape the rest of the hardened ice cream in here. And this is a little bit thicker than a milkshake, and I don't think Neil would have any problem stopping right now. And
I wouldn't.
yeah, this is
It's
really
delicious.
good.
Okay, cool. So you use that vanilla ice cream as kind of a base for any ice cream, really? Huh?
Absolutely, Neil. This is a perfect base for doing a lot of different types of flavors of ice cream. Fold candies into it, Oreo cookies, all those good things. You can even swirl chocolate syrup in there. If you wanted to make it a fruit ice cream, just reduce some of the additional liquid that we put in from the milk and from the cream and add some pureed fruit in there as well. And you can even cut some half strawberries and throw them in. It'd be really nice.
Making me hungry.
So this is ready for that final hardening part.
All
if
right.
you would, that goes into the freezer. And we're going to move right into the next step, which is to start the banana flambé. Now we've got two liqueurs here that we're going to flambé with. Grand Marnier and Cointreau. Grand Marnier is made from orange rind, and it has a really nice citrus flavor. And the reason these two liqueurs are so good for flambeing, they're 80 proof liqueurs. And you'll notice that I'm pouring them into glasses and not going straight out of the bottle. When you do a flambé, you don't want to go straight out of a bottle. It's dangerous, and you want to make sure that you adhere to whatever safety you can. Flambeing itself can get out of hand if you're not prepared for it. Now, after you've done this several times, it's really easy to do. So we're going to start this by taking a half a stick of butter, and we're going to put that around the pan and start it melting. We're going to chop it into a few pieces. And so I'm going to take some firmly packed light brown sugar and set that in. And I'm just going to cut that in, and I'm going to start to dissolve the brown sugar. Now what we're wanting to do is make a simple caramel. So as the brown sugar starts to dissolve, the next thing we're going to put in is some really nice clover honey. And I'm going to do this like I would tableside. I'm going to show a little bit of height in there and a little bit of a demonstration. Now I always over measure when I do that because honey's never going to come out clean.
Yeah.
So I always over measure my honey a little bit.
You know, I think part of flambé is definitely the showmanship.
Absolutely.
You gotta do those long drips down and the flames and all that.
So you can see that made a really nice caramel sauce. And the rest of the brown sugar is going to go ahead and start to break down. I'm going to turn the flame down just a little. I'm going to add some almonds in. And then I'm going to start putting in the banana. Now, I pre-cut the banana so that I can get through this quickly, and I've got a trash can that I've set down here. And I'm going to use a butter knife to cut, and you notice I left some banana skin on the bottom, and that's going to be my stopping point as I chop my banana in. If you get a brand new knife, you want to make sure that you're very careful, because sometimes the newer knives be a little bit sharper and you could cut into the banana skin. So I like to use 3 medium bananas or 2 large bananas, and I like to make sure that they're ripe but yet still firm. I don't want to get one that has a lot of spotting on it. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to shift a little bit here, and I'm going to bring my flambé liqueurs closer to my right hand. I'm going to get my cinnamon, which is my finishing part. I'm going to make sure that my towel is in close proximity, just in case something did happen. And my spoon for working the cinnamon.
And while you're doing that, do you want me to get some of this ice cream out on the plates?
Absolutely.
All
We're going to go ahead and glaze these bananas for just a minute. Now there's no need to completely bring this to a boil. After all, we just wanted a nice caramel sauce, which we've got. And I'm going to move this to the back of the pan, and I'm going to let the top of the pan start to heat up. And you'll notice I'm keeping the spoon close like this, and I'm getting the top of the pan hot. And I'm going to take the first liqueur, and I'm going to pour it in, and you'll see the flames come up fairly soon after that. You'll hear the sizzle, and then I'll just tip down towards the fire. If you were going to do this with an electric stove, you could do that and just have a little click lighter, one of those long lighters available, and just click, because all you're trying to do is hit the fumes. So here we go with the first liqueur. And then we're going to take our spoon, and we're just going to kind of bathe the flames back over the top. When I do that in the dining room, I often tell the guests, be prepared for a small flame. And now on the second flame, I'm going to take the cinnamon, and I'm going to sprinkle the cinnamon into the flame And we're going to toast some of that cinnamon, which is really nice. And you'll see the sparkles.
Wow.
And it toasts the cinnamon as it goes through. Now at this point you can shut off the burner, and all you're doing now is waiting till the alcohol is burned off and dissipated. And there you have it. We've got this beautiful banana foster. And I normally keep spinning and working the bananas a little bit as it starts to cool down to make sure that this incorporates. And then we're ready to head to the next step, which is to put some of this over the ice cream and see how you like it.
There you go.
And instead of pouring it right over the top of that beautiful scoop, I'm just going to kind of lay some around the side here. And of course, the option to do this without nuts is just perfect.
Just looks
Do
incredible.
test,
Yeah, if
tell
you
me
don't
what you
mind.
think about that.
Let's try this one out. So I'm going to get one perfect scoop, a bunch of ice cream, whole banana chunk. It's really, really good. I love the hot and the cold together.
You
Really
get
got
the
that
notes of the
caramel.
citrus?
Yeah, it's delicious.
Excellent.
Well, thank you so much for showing us how to prepare that.
My pleasure.
As you can see, if you prepare this for your friends, you'll definitely impress them. I think that fire was incredible.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.